All right, so people are joining right now. So I'll be waiting for 5 minutes at least so that, we have everyone in for the webinar, and then we'll be starting for one of the important webinar, I would say. We're dealing with PS today. So just let's wait for 5 more minutes. Meanwhile, I welcome and I'm saying hi to everyone that I can see right now who are joined in. So even you guys can say hi to each other, to me. You can type your messages on chat windows. And I would be very happy and excited if we could have the interactive session today because we're dealing with PS, which is, I won't say it's easy, but yeah, it's a real trap. So if it's good if we, discuss the questions and if you guys are solving. And a small instruction, I mean, like whenever you attend the webinar, it's not about us, but again, any webinar today or in near future, always make sure that you have a pen and a paper ready to make note of anything that you feel, it's good. And if you have anything to ask, you can definitely write it into the chat box because that is something which will pop up onto my screen whenever someone asks something. So definitely I'll try answering all the possible questions that we will have today. Meanwhile, before we start, I just want if you guys can quickly write, is PS easy or difficult when it comes to GMAT, and what are the actual challenges that normally anyone can face, be it a math background or a non-math background student, when it comes to PS questions exactly. So what happens is, like, once I start my webinar discussing about the approaches, I'll have those things into my mind and I'll try covering as many as points as possible. So you guys can quickly, whatever you feel, you can just put it across the chat box, and therein where, we're good to go. We have 10 people joined in. I'll be just giving 5 more minutes to it, and then I'll be right away starting with it. So in the brief today, we'll be talking a highlight of what Math Revolution does, and what we are into, when did we start, and then I'll be taking you through the IV approach. This is not now a very new term to a lot of students across the globe. So we have been very much popular these days with variable approach for DS and IV approach for PS. For more information, you can often go to, the website to check the details about it. And we recently have started the service for one-on-one free consultation. And so the link is always available on GMAT Club, and on our website you can simply click on the link and schedule the call with me directly. I've been discussing with majorly almost all the students from India. I mean, like, not particularly only from India, but I would say Asia, and then some from US. I mean, like, almost all zones. And, a kind of a similar question, score improvement. That is what we look forward to. It has to be always a score improvement. But one common outline that I would want to bring in here is everyone is coming up at the end with the same statement that, you know what, Puneet, we we have 10 minutes remaining at the end and we have got 10 questions. We have 10 minutes remaining at the end and we have got 10 questions or 11 questions or 8 questions remaining. So how can we manage it? How we can, you know, uh, save our time? This is the same fact that came into mind of the founder of Math Revolution, who was actually the mega mind, I would say, the mastermind behind this particular approaches that we would be discussing. So when he discussed this with his students in the past, when he appeared for 27 times for his GMAT, scoring a perfect score for quant, therein where he realized that there has to be something developed and designed which could save time. And when we say saving time, if it could save at least a minute in 10 questions, we ultimately have 30 minutes to solve the remaining questions, and therein where we go. So without making a late, I'll quickly start the webinar today. So it's a good weekend to start with. It's Saturday, and I'm very excited to take you to this journey of PS problem, especially the IV approach, because this is something has brought a lot of confidence into me and a lot of other students who has learned it to get through the approaches for solving the PS problem. So the agenda, as I've already discussed, so for few introduction slide, will move a bit quick. So we'll be I'll be talking rather about math revolution than what is a GMAT math overview. This is something pretty not new or a unique for you as a GMAT aspirant. Third point is one on which we'll be discussing a lot today. And fourth point is approach. So therein where I would be more than happy to receive your feedback about whatever we learned today as an approach, how is that combating or winning over conventional approach? So math revolution, we started in 2001 in South Korea. It was established, and we are very happy to say that we have more than 190 plus countries visitors. We have a members of more than 130 right now. And when I say members, they are taking various services. They take diagnostic tests on our website. They take packages. They learn lessons. We have a tutoring. One I'm one of the tutors. I've got a couple of students. There are some more experts who do the tutoring. So those are like good from 130 countries. And it's been like more than 45,000 students we are touching right now. And best part is like 90% out of it. Now when I'm not focusing on 90% to tell you our achievement, because that is our achievement and everyone will do it if they are into test prep industry. Percentage sign I'm focusing upon because in PS we deal with the percentage. So I recollected that IV approach for the percentage, which we are about to discuss in next 5 minutes. And we launched the math revolution globally with a website therein where we could start catering the services across the globe in 2015. The goal of GMAT math is, because no one wants to have 45, 46 pointers. Yes, agree to the fact that everyone learns from the basic. So they're at the level of 25, 30, then they get on to 35, they get on to 45. But the major challenge is how to get over 45. Journey till 45 is easy because you keep on learning the concept, so that makes easier. But how, when you learned or when you have learned all the concepts, it becomes very difficult to pick your pointers from 45, 46 to 48, 49. And trust me, this is the major question that I'm getting through, not even the second call of every day, but almost in every calls these days. I've been attending good 7, 8 calls a day, and almost 100% students have got the same feedback to how to improve our score from 46 to 50, 51. And I would say the only weapon that you can use, I'm using an exactly correct word today, that is a weapon that you can use to score high in the quant for GMAT, is only two things. First, the DS, for which you need to apply the recommended DS and variable approach. And for PS, it would be IV approach. So this is a person, uh, a most respectful person for every one of us, who is the mastermind behind this particular approach. So whatever I'm talking today, he's the one who has laid the foundation strongly, successful in the past. So he's a founder and a CEO. He is a master degree in mathematics. He has taken GMAT 27 times. Earlier, it used you could have an exceptionally case wherein you could attempt more than 8 times. He has solved 100,000 questions. My God, that is, I mean, like it's a kind of a, he himself is a bible of a question, I could say, if I could read such a statistics that wherein he has solved 100,000 questions. And world's first variable approach, now this is what it brings a proud, and my shoulder is so tight to when I say it's a world's first variable approach. because we are the one who has brought this approach, and this is absolutely, you know, bringing a lot of positive results to the students. And if you want to see the glance of it, there are three ways you could do it. First, keep on attending the webinar. Our webinar would always be loaded onto the YouTube, so you can definitely have all those see, and you can you can see all those recordings. Second, on the GMAT club, our experts are always in a position to post the solutions for various questions across using the variable approach and the IV approach, so you can definitely see those. Third, your gateway for all the services stops at www.mathrevolution.com. Sign up, you will have everything there. Now, what are the characteristics? I would say we are unique because we have got the first approaches, which are IV and variable. The math skills, see, even if you're non-math background, it would be easy for you to grab upon. Reason, GMAT never asks you to have a math background to attempt it. Quickness, 10 minutes to spare before exam ends. How easy and relaxing does that statement sounds if I say you'll have at least 10 minutes before your exam ends and you're done with all the questions, in comparison to the statements that have been made by certain students these days, that we only have 10 minutes and we still have almost 8 questions to solve. So there is a difference. It comes, that is what we call as quickness. Accuracy, obviously, if you want to hit 48 and 49, your accuracy has to be maintained. So how many, I don't say, or we never say that without these approaches you can never ever score 50-51, but there would be only few who could do it. But when we want major people to do it, majority of people to do it, that is wherein we have to go through with these approaches, which are variable and IV. Let's start with the IV approach. I again welcome every one of you on the board, and this is where I'm starting. We'll be talking about the IV approach. It is absolutely for PS questions. We understand PS stands for problem solving. Meaning of IV approach is to just get into a top MBA programs. Now, what are the major things that we will talk today and in the following webinars, because it's an approach, so definitely cannot be covered only into a single webinar. So pay attention to this. You can make a note of it particularly, and I would love if you can make a note of it. We're talking about axioms 1, 2, and 3, which means there are certain notations that we have derived, and those we have termed as an axiom. We will be talking about the LCM method today, which is the least common method, or 100. We'll be talking about each is together. Now, each is together, I don't believe that I have put that into today's webinar because it is mostly into the mixtures problem, therein where I would be talking about this approach separately in my next webinar for PS, for which the dates and the timings would definitely be shared with you. So that's not an issue. Complementary 2 by 2 and separated 2 by 2. I'll be more focusing upon such kind of questions today, that how to draw a table, how to compare, and what is the hidden exceptions to this. And then I'll be talking about the local ratio. So let's start with this. What is the role of the IV approach? Let's go quickly on this. It can be applied to various types of PS questions. Yes. Any sort of questions which requires your question to be comprehended and converted into mathematical expression is very difficult. For example, 20 is what percent of 50, and second equation is 20% of 50. So now understand, it's not about a math background or a non-math background. At times it becomes very difficult to convert those expressions. Once you have conquered and learned this approach and have practiced a lot of questions, then you will be in a position to answer the question in like 10 seconds, that 20% is like 20 over 100 times 50, or it is 20 times 100 over 50. But to get at that particular zone wherein you can answer in 10 seconds, you need to practice through this approach, which will ideally take you 3-4 minutes earlier during your practice zone. Okay, so we'll be questioning, so we'll be having a quick and effective way to solve the questions, and you will have more time to solve the highest difficulty questions. Now see, this is the major crux of GMAT exam. Various level of questions, 31 questions all in total. most of the question can be solved in 30 seconds, 1 minute, 1.5 minutes. So now understand, every question doesn't take 2 minutes or more. So anywhere when you see the opportunity to save your timings, I would say if you could save your time in some question, that is something you would be able to definitely get over other difficult question. And for your information, yes, this particular session has been recorded and it would be soon uploaded once we are done successfully completion with that. And for any more questions, you can directly mark your questions onto Q&A and chat windows. I'll be answering those. Let's start with the IV approach first. The characteristics, it's a logical and it's pattern oriented. What does it mean, logical and the pattern oriented? So it's not that easy to learn, to grab. You don't have to cram it. In short, you don't have to cram it. It's just understanding of a concept. And we know math cannot be crammed. It's a tricky subject that we need to definitely foresee, and we have to be visionary about it. It detect and minimize the error. Silly mistakes are more, that is what is hitting my score these days. If your score is 46 when you expected it to be 50 or 50 or 51 or indeed 49, but it ends up at 46, doesn't mean that it's only the hard level question which was wrong. It could be a basic level question which got wrong just because of the trap, maybe an overexcitement, maybe a pre-assumption, maybe a simple calculation mistake. So my last portion of the particular question wanted me to do 2 times 1 over 2, which ends up as 1. I was in another state of mind due to all other ingredients that adds up pressure to my mind. I did 2 times 2, which is 4. I marked 4. My luck was so unfortunate that 4 was also an option. And I ended up marking 4, but my answer was 1. Does that mean that we don't know what is 2 times 1 over 2? Or does it like 2 over 2 is 1 and that is something we intentionally do wrong? No. So this is the method that will actually detect such kind of errors which can avoid your silly mistakes. Your equations would be formed very easily and you will be able to answer them correctly, thus saving your time, increasing your accuracy, and you will be more efficient. But I repeat, you need to practice this so that you get a command on it. It's not just a night story therein where you just jump out of your bed in the morning and has commanded this. So let's go with the IV approach, which says local ratios. What we talk about the local ratios here. Now see, it means a part becomes a whole. Obviously, it becomes a part becomes a whole. There's a rectangle that I can see right now, or we can see right now, with an oval, and there's a rectangle inside it. There are certain names written here which says physics, classes, and students. And there is a number written here which says 2, 6, and 2. So if I talk about the bigger rectangle or the outer rectangle, that means it has got all the students. So it has all students here, particularly. And then for the oval, which is this, I have in total all the number of students who wear glasses. So now see, understand this particular equation formation. The number of total students cannot be 2. The number of total students cannot be 2. Because if that is 2, then what are these 6 and 2 others? Who are they? So the concern is my total students would be this 2 plus 2 and this 6. That makes up 10. Out of which number of students who wear glasses, because this glass is a subset that has encompassed the physics also into it, so that glasses becomes 8, out of which 2 students who wear glasses, they study physics. So now my question can go on any other way. I can have the question on this is, find the percentage of students studying physics to the total students. If I have to go back for you, I'll just go this. Number of total students are 10, and we are dealing with only physics, which are 2. So my definitely, if I say it's 2 out of 10, which is 20%. Just to brief you about a percentage, if you have to calculate it by percentage, we can simply put a percentage sign. So 2 out of 10, so 2 over 10, and I multiply it by 100%. That happens to be 20%. percentage sign remains as it is. But if the question says, find the percentage of students studying physics to the students wearing glasses, I have nothing to do with all the students here. There are two spatial terms that they are talking me to deal about. First, physics. Second, glasses. So the concern here happens to be number of students who were studying physics was 2. Total number of students who were wearing the glasses were 8. So don't make a mistake of taking it as 100% thinking about they're just talking about the student of physics wearing glasses. No, that want to know the percentage of students out of the students who has wore the glasses. So that happens to be 2 out of 8, which is 25%. For quick calculation, I would say if we could make a quick mind map, therein where if we could have the percentage calculations quick enough, like what I mean by that is 100 over 1 is 100%, 100 over 2 is 50%, 100 over 3 is 33.3, 100 over 4 is 25, 100 over 5 is 20, 100 over 6 is 16.66, 100 over 7 is 14.28, 100 over 8 is 12.5, 100 over 9 is 11.1, 100 over 10 is 10. If I could do that, every one of you can do that. And let me tell you, when we have this thing ready, 25%, I'll do just 1 over 4. Done. My job is done. If it's quarter, it's 1/4. If it's half, it's 50%. It's 1 over 2. If it's 3/4, 75%. So, this is all the things that actually saves your time along with these approaches. These are the shortcuts, to be very much honest. Okay, let's just start the journey. I'll be expecting the answers also from most of you or every one of you, please. The question says, out of 100 students, pay attention to every single word. If you get any information, make sure you write it into a copy. Don't jump solving a question. It's you who has to solve the question in GMAT. No one will come, drag you out of your chair to say, no, I'll solve the question. No, it's you who has to solve the question. So don't jump onto solving the question before reading or comprehending it, because there is what the trap exactly lies into the PS questions. Out of 100 students, my total is 100. I'm just drawing a mind map right now. My total is 100. 80 students took a math class. Okay, fine. I'm not doing anything 80 out of 100 or nothing. No, I'm just going with the information, but I have made sure that I have written those into my paper right now. So total students is 100, math students are 80. Out of all the students who took the math class, oh, all the students who took the math class is 80. Done. If 16 students went to a graduate school for math, okay, so out of those 80, 16 are going to the graduate school. Then what percent of all the students? So all students, that means those were 80. Out of which 16 were going. 16 over 80 is how much? 1 over 5. If I have to convert that into percentage, that would be 100%. So my answer should be D. I marked it. I moved ahead. My answer is absolutely wrong or right. Let's understand this. So this is a concept of the local ratio. Yes, it is a concept of a local ratio where a part becomes a whole. This is the axiom that we are be talking about. And this is one of the axiom that actually I'll be discussing in my next webinar, but just to give you a highlight, these are the terms that we talk about. So if your question says what percent of, what fractions of, what number is, how many times, so we deal it with something, maybe X or maybe theta or any number or any symbol. Of is of is just a multiplication. Is, was, were, went to, is this all terms becomes equal to sign. And percentage, often we know, is a percentage sign, which is 1 over 100. Going ahead with the same question, it says like we have a total student, so we are just marking the information given. Total students are 100, math class is 80, and graduate school for math is 16. So all students becomes the denominator. All students becomes the denominator. When I solved the question at the start, even giving a hint to you, I moved out with 80 as my denominator. My answer was 20. Now let's go ahead with this. Denominator total student 100. A student who take mathematics is 80. Students who take mathematics and went to graduate school is 16. Well acclaimed right now with all the information, not left out with any information. Just have to crack the solution now. Talking about the same, let's go ahead and have the solution for the same. It says, what percent of all students went to a graduate school for math? We need to convert this into algebraic equation. We need to convert this into mathematical expression. This is something I have briefed you while doing the intro part when we started our webinar. So what stands for theta? Percent is 1 over 100. Of is multiplication sign. All students 100. All students 100. I took 80. Went to equals to a graduate school for math 16. If you just simply solve this equation, theta times 1 over 100 times 100, 100 cancels out each other. I'm left with 16%. Oh my goodness. I was marking answer as 20%, which is D. No one in this universe could have given me a hint that I'm doing it wrong, because when I solve, I always have a tendency or mentality to check my options in the five. If suppose my answer was 33.33 by any chance, and if it was not matching to it, I would have reread the question. That means if I would have reread the question, I'm actually investing more time into it. Second, I have got the wrong answer. So I've checked my own solution. So you have already taken time to read the question, to comprehend it, and now you're again rereading it because your answers are not matching. So whenever you rush, you would be most of the time out of the race. This is, I recommend, I request, go slow, understand the terms which they're asking. What percent of all students, not the math students, right? So this is one of the kind of a trap, and this is the first trap. I rarely take the trap in the first slide, but again, this was something that was a closed trap for us. So this is wherein, I went with this particular question. Okay, fine. Let's go ahead with the next one, which should be complementary 2 by 2. Complementary, we understand this because we have studied, probability. So we understand what a complementary is. Any particular, say, set A with a complement of its own gives you one and all. But right now we are dealing with the PS. So in this particular scenario, what happens is there's an example given on the screen here on for you. So someone who is studying physics or students who are studying physics, so there could be students who are not studying physics. So now this not is a complement part of studying physics. Similarly, studying math and non-studying math. So now there could be four possible cases here, and this is wherein we say it's a complementary. So you need to see the word called not into it. And this is what the explanation to this is. The students who take physics and students who do not take physics are taken into column. Doesn't matter. You can take physics and non-studying physics in rows, math and non-math into column. That will not make any difference to your column when you prepare it before entering the numerical values, reading the questions. So this will not matter a lot, will not make any difference. Physics can come here, but yes, physics with non-physics should be into the same column, and math and non-math should be into the same row, or vice versa. So this is a complementary 2 by 2. Now let's go ahead and talk about a next question. It says in a city A, 20% of the population has a master's degree. Okay. And 16% of a population are females with a master's degree. Okay, fine. 20% of it. So they're considering there is a city which is A. 20% of population has master's degree, or 16% of the populations are females with a master's degree. What percent of population with a master's degree in city A are males? How do we understand that this is all about complementary 2 by 2? So complementary is the opposite to something. So if there are females, there has to be males. First point, first hint. Second, if there could someone, or if there are someone in the population who holds a master's degree, definitely there would be some people, I'm not sure minority or majority, but there would be some who will not have the master's degree. Question says the same thing. In city A, 20% of population has a master's degree. It's not 100%, it's a 20%. So there are people who doesn't have a master's degree. Only 16% of population have females have a master's degrees. So in this particular scenario, what we got is, in total, we have a master's degree for 20%, females with a master's degrees with 16%. Now, a must information for you. Whenever you need to deal with the percentages, whenever you will deal with percentages, you need to attach 100 to the initial letter. That is something that's going to come into the next slide, so you'll have more clear understanding it. But since it says here total population is equals to 100p, this is why I'm making that note as a highlight before. If there is X people and out of which 20% are masters, then it becomes 20 over 100 times X, it becomes X over 5, then it becomes 4X over 5 is males and non-masters, out of which, see, understand, you're taking an unknown X at the start. It is still going with an unknown X at the end, but the expression that you have ended up making is too typical. It's very easy to deal in numbers rather than variables. And to avoid such thing, we have this approach for the IV, which says if there happens to be a percentage symbol or a word percent, always use 100. Attach that 100 to an initial letter of a word which is there in the particular question. For this question, the word is population. We have taken it as P. Capital P, small p doesn't matter a lot. That is something for your convenience, you can understand. So I'll assume, or we all will assume that the population was 100p. If my population was 100p, then 20% of population has a master's degree. So that's a 20p. 16% of the populations are female with a master's degree. So I have all in total masters is 20% of 100p, which happens to be 20p. That is into the last lines of the slide, if you could see and find out. Females are already 16% of it, so that becomes 16p. So the males with the master's degree would be 20p, which was whole, minus 16p, which are females, that makes out 4p. Now see, if it was X, so far we were just forming the equation only. Now the question has asked what percentage. So now see, this is the term that we use for axiom conversion 1. What percent of something, what fraction of something. So this what gives us a clear understanding that we need to create an algebraic expression to solve this question. So now it says a master's degree is 16p. We got this 4p, we got this 20p. Now the best is what percent of population with a master's degree in city A are males. What stands for theta? That could be anything for anyone. Percent is same for everyone, which is 1 over 100. Of is multiplication. Master's degree, how many are those are master's degree? 20p. Pay attention to it. They're just talking about the master's degree. They are not biasing it on the females or males part. It's just a master's degree, the total of which is 20p. We put 20p here. Is males. Is equals to, and males, we got the males as 4p. So the information was given about females. We found the value of 4p of males by putting it into 100p. And now when we convert this equation, this is a piece of a cake for anyone to solve the basic math. Theta times 1 over 100 times 20p is equals to 4p. Solving this by rearranging and simplification gets me theta, which is something is equals to 20%. I can say 20% of the population with master's degree in city are males. My answer goes as B, as simple as this. Anyone who has any questions, directly put it on the chat. I'll be more than happy to answer it. Moving ahead with the next particular logic, separated 2 by 2. Now see, it's one and the same kind for complementary and separated. The only difference it makes is I want to either eat a sandwich today or maybe a pizza. So I won't say that, I have to eat something with which is a pizza or a non-pizza. No, then there is nothing called a non-pizza, because non-pizza will have a lot of options. So I want to just end up getting two options. I just went to a supermarket to buy either apple or oranges. So now what I'm doing is I'm separating those particular entities with its name, which has no complementary relations to it. So this is the example, like, the quantity of apples I can buy, getting the unit price for its. Similarly, oranges I can buy for the unit price of it. There's nothing called NOT, not, NO, no. So this is a separated 2 by 2 table. Let's deal in the question about it. Wordy question, lot of words, almost 4 5 line question. Don't get panic. If it is a lengthy question, definitely it could have given a lot of information therein where we could definitely break ourselves and solve. So how to deal with such long question? Go slow, make it start making a note of whatever terms you start coming in. Publisher X sells book through its physical stores or mobile app. See, two different cases is already given into the first line itself, which is physical store and mobile app. Make a note of it. How is that publisher X selling the book? Physical stores, mobile app. Two options. Fine. Done. Next line. It currently has a promotion that offers a 20% discount if book B, which was published last Monday. Now, see, you guys do study verbal. Let me just put one thing into it. This particular words, which was published last Monday, is a clause. It's a relative clause, but it's a non-essential clause too, because it is coming between the two commas. First pointer to understand. Second, it was not essential for me to read. I could have directly read it as it currently has a promotion that offers a 20% discount if book B is sold through a mobile app. Does not matter if it was published last Monday or nothing. So even if I don't read it in the first go, that is okay. They have put it to make to show us a question lengthy. So these are also some techniques which, this is why I'm telling it to you, to read a question slow. Don't rush. Okay, let's go ahead. So we have two things or three things right now. First, mobile app. Second, physical store. Third, on books, on book B there's a discount of 20%. Fine. If book B, and that discount only happens if it is sold through a mobile app. If book B is sold at the stores, publisher X offers no discount. Okay, fine. So right now the conditions or the entities that we have is very much limited. We are dealing in book B, physical store selling, mobile app selling, discount only when it is sold through mobile app, not with the stores. Last week it sold 150 books through both the stores and mobile app. That's again a information that mobile and stores plus, if we add up, that gives a total number of books that was sold was 150. The original price of book is $10 per copy. They're dealing in the quantity, 150 books. They're dealing in the pricing, quantity, price, apple, oranges, physical store, mobile app, separated 2 by 2. We can relate it. If publisher X had total sales of $1,300, how many books did it sell through the mobile app? And not a very difficult question, because we have read it so easy and without rushing that we have all the information. We just have to simply put it across to a table, and then we'll be applying the, see, this is the table that goes through. So we'll quickly go through this table. How does it work? Sold at stores, sold through mobile app. These are two separated 2 by 2 table, nothing called the complementary into it. Here is the total. We have a quantity. We have a unit selling price because it says $10 per copy. Okay, so quantity, if we assume a variable which is A and B for stores and mobile app respectively, then we have A plus B in total, which says 150 here in the question. Last week it sold 150 books through both the stores and the mobile app. Let's go with the unit selling price, which says $10 per copy. Now, if you're selling it through the what? Mobile app, you're getting a discount of 20%. Discount of 20% means he's not taking 20% of the money, which also means that he is taking 80% of money. So 80% for 10 becomes $8. So your sold through mobile app unit selling price would be 8. The overall total would be 10A. It would not be 10 plus A. You always, so if I have to buy, if I go to a supermarket right now to buy a chocolate, maybe for me, maybe if one of the chocolate costs me $10, and if I want to end up buying three chocolates, I don't pay him $13. No, I pay him $30. It happens to be quantity times unit selling price. I know you guys know, but I just want to make sure that I don't miss on anything in the webinar, be it a small thing as well. So it happens to be 10 times A, which is 10A. Similarly, it happens to be 8 times B, which is 8B. The overall sales total was 1,300. You have already solved the question. You have to just put across the values. This particular thing is already there here in the information field from the questions. And then if we go ahead, what we have to find, how many books did it sell through the mobile app? We have this basic, uh, values here. So we have been dealing with two variables, a plus b, which we assume through the mobile app and the store was 150. A happens to be 150 minus b. This is a very basic equation to solve. If we substitute a equals to 150 minus b into 10 times a plus 8b, so you know how to solve a two variable equation. A plus b is 150, 10a plus 8b is 1300. You can equalize both by elimination method. You can solve it by substitution method. You can do anything which you feel like. You can even pick an option to have the ordered pair without wasting much of the time. We just make sure that you don't solve it for a, because they're dealing with the mobile app and we have assumed that variable to be b. So rather than, if they have asked for y, don't find the x and then substitute its value and then get y. We know, I see, we agree that every one of us know how to do it, but again the concern is, even if it saves 4 seconds for us not to solve for x and directly for y, it is better and it is good. So directly deal with whatever is asked, and this is only possible when you don't rush. That is it. So this is a separated 2 by 2, and the answer at the end goes as 100. That is it. Let's go ahead with the more concept. How to create and find 2 by 2 tables. Yeah, that is a very much interesting, because at times there would be question which would give us direct hint about it. It seems to be complementary. It doesn't seem to be complementary, but we can make out that it has, it is more or less the a part of separated 2 by 2 table. But what if, like, there are certain words which I have to catch and get to know that whether I would be able to form a complementary or a 2 by 2 table. So always remember that there would always, 2 by 2 tables are default. I mean, I would say, just look at the question and approach every question as if it has a 2 by 2 table, right? Because every question will give you hint. This is what I was talking about. So many question always contain a hint, so that you can convert those into your 2 by 2 table. Now let's deal with this question. Does it has a hint for us or not? It says there are two production line. That is the first hint. That itself is the first hint. It is dealing with two production line. That is a first hint for me, that in the one production line there is something different, and in the other production line there is something different. Otherwise he would have said there are two unique production lines. How can be two unique production lines? Don't fall for the word. There could be more than two production lines, or more than one unique production lines producing something. So two production lines in a certain car factory. Most of the cars are in good condition. Most, not all. It's most. That doesn't guarantee that none of the car would be defective, but the rest have defects. Even if they would not have told me this, but the rest have defects, I could have easily managed to understand or comprehend it, that if most of the cars are in good condition, then there are certain who are in defective versions. I am totally going towards something good and a bad. That means I'm going towards the complementary services right now. Okay, let's move ahead. The number of cars with defects in the first production line is 20C. This is something which I brought you under notice in the first line itself when I read it. There are two production lines. So first production, second production, good condition, bad condition. This is what I'm going as a complementary. Now they've started giving us the information about it. The number of cars with defects in the first production line is 20. It's just 20, not a percent. It's just a number. And number of cars in a good condition is 200 in the second production line. See, there is always a hint in the question so that you can find the table. There are total of 500 cars produced in the factory. Now they have given us more and more information. So what I'll say is it's much better for us to form a table so that we can read along and we can put it into the, table across. So this is all, I mean, like, see, this was the hint in the question. If you read in this bold terms, hint in the question, the two production lines, the two type of products which are good and defective. The second was the rest and the first production line. So the rest is also, but the rest have defects. So these are the hints that we get across. How much was the total production? 500. The number of cars with defects in the first production line is 20. The number of cars in good conditions in the second production line is 200. Percentage of defective cars in the first production line is 10%. We have two options, two production lines, first and second, good and bad, or good and defective cars. Defective is a proper word to go along with the no good in this situation. Our complementary table would look like this. Let's discuss about how did we draw it. We have a cars in good conditions and defective cars in the rows. We have got first production line and second production line in the columns. We don't have value of A because they never said how many cars were in good conditions in the production line, first production line. They've given us the value of B, which is second production line number of cars which are good, which are 200. So second production line, which with cars in a good condition is 200. So how many would be the total? Total would be first production line plus second production line, which are good. So total cars which are good in good condition for both the lines are A plus 200. Now let's talk about the defective cars. The defective number of cars with defects in the first production line is 20. We assume that to be C. And then it happens to be, we have assumed the second production line is not given, which is D. Now, there's one more information that they have given to us is percentage of defective cars in the first production line is 10%. So this is also information that is given to you. So that happens to be 10% of A plus C naught. Pay attention to this. It's a percentage of defective cars in the first production line. That happens to be 10% of A plus C. And this happens to be 20 plus D. Total is A plus 20. This total goes as 200 plus D. Overall total, which is total production, was 500. We are just, I would say, not even a minute away to solve this particular question now. We have a complete equation here. The only thing which I want to tell here is how many cars produced in the second production line. They have nothing to do with the first production to find. Everything in the second. What best you can find in the second? Only D, because B is still known. So in the second production line have defects. We are dealing with D with all the necessary information already given. We have four variables here, A, B, C, D. By substitution, rearranging, a simple simplification, we can get a hold of this equation. I'll go on that particular solution in a bit. We have given C is equals to 20. If we put this C is equals to 0.1 of A plus C, because it says it's a 10% of first production line. So 20 happens to be 0.1 times A plus 20. This is not a big deal for us to calculate A at the end. So 20 equals to 0.1 A plus 2. 0.1 times A becomes 18, which is 180. I've got a value of A, I've got the value of B. I can definitely make out from here that A plus 200, A is 180. That means this becomes 380. This is 500. So this happens to be 120. If this is 120, out of which 20 is already this part, my D remains as 100. I just solved the question, right? So it's the same thing. Substituting A equals to 180, B equals to 200, C equals to 20 in all in total also, because we have the value of A plus B plus C plus D as 500. You can do that also. But you know what? It goes very quick, to be very much honest. When you are done with forming such a table, there's no prescribed format to solve this question after forming this table, and your mind will work very sharp, let me tell you, to just quickly arrange the values and get through it. I did it just by finding from there what a equals to 180. I never looked at all the options. I just looked here. A equals to 180, it becomes 380. If this is 380, total is 500. Then this second thing should be 120, out of which 20 is already there. So D has to be 100. Simple. And this is simple for all. It's not for me being a trainer or an instructor. It's simple for all. So that is pretty okay. But table formation is the main, plus the hints that are given in the question to catch whether we can form the table. So always try making a table so that it becomes, because this is a more organized way of all the information that you could get through the question. C is the correct answer. Yes, absolutely. C is the correct answer, which is 100. LCM and fractions. We always talk about LCM and the fractions because we have been dealing with a question which has got a lot of fractions: 1 over 2 people, 1 over 2, 3 over 8, 7 over 5, and we deal with such things. As I said, for percentage, that take an initial letter of what we are dealing with. Like in the one of the question before, we were dealing with population, so we took an initial as P, and it was a percentage question, so we attached 100 to it. A similar kind of a fashion or a similar kind of approach that you will see here, which says IV approach 3-1, which is LCM and fraction. So if you're dealing with the fractions, take an initial letter, whatever it is, and just attach the LCM, which is the least common multiple of denominator, to the related initial letter. Attach the LCM of denominators. When I say denominators, that means there are more than a fraction that we're dealing with. So there could be 2, there could be 3. So I don't want to fall back for taking an unknown x or p or y and just making a part out of it then. No, I'll just take a number. And as I said rightly before, when you have a number, it works. Everyone love to have numbers. That is what you guys also want. Do you want your result to be in a fraction, or do you want your q to be 50? You would be happy when that looks at q 50, 51. Your university will give you admission when they'll see the numbers as 730, 750, 700, 720. It's not about a fraction. So no one deals into fraction in this world. Everyone loves numbers. So let's go ahead with this. At a convention, 2 over 5 of all the countries attended, and 5 or 8 of all the countries that attended were in the favor of a bill. Hello? If 7 over 10 of the countries that did not attend were in favor of the bill, what fraction of all the countries were against the bill? Now see, concern here is not the way they have formed the question, but again, it's countries, then it's bill. I'm getting a very typical fractions here, 2 or 5. Okay, fine. For a while, I can write it as 0.4, but again, a fraction converting to a decimal, and then 5 over 8, I'm not sure what exactly it is. Is it zero point 0.6 something, and 7 over 10 is 0.7? Converting from fraction to percentage at times is okay, but converting from fractions to decimal is more difficult. And again, the concern is my all the options are again in the fractions. That means even if I'm converting it to something else, I have to reconvert back it to the fraction. We are not going with those kind of approach. We're simply dealing with this particular fractions. Only pick the fractions first. 2 over 5, 5 over 8, 7 over 10. The question is all about the countries. There are certain countries who attended, who didn't attend. They were attending or not attending for a kind of a thing which is a bill favor. And yeah, so it's countries who attended, who not attended, and they have the bill, and they're favoring the bill, they're not favoring the bill. I'll again repeat it. There are countries who attended, who did not attend. They're favoring a bill, they're not favoring a bill. Information is given in fraction. Question asks what fraction of all. My mind will simply say me, Puneet, go ahead with 3 logics. First, complementary, because it says country who attended, not attended. Favored the bill, against the bill. First thing first. Second, go with the axiom 1, axiom 4 1, which says you need to convert the expression, because it says what fraction of all countries. What is something? Fraction is something, we have to get a fraction. Of is multiplication. All countries is we need to get the value for it. Were is equals to against the bill, we need to get the value for it. So if I go ahead, I have to apply this because we're dealing in the fractions here. If it was percentage, I could have simply taken it as 100. But again, right now, I don't have any opportunity to do so. So we will be applying, attach it to the denominators. We'll be taking the LCM of all the denominators to attach it to the initial letters of countries, which is C. So first thing first, we have to do this. Second, in second, we'll be doing about the table. See, I told you 2 by 2 tables are default. This is why I read the question 3 times and focusing, giving you more impression on certain words so that even you guys could catch it. And third one, of course, we are dealing with this axioms right away from the first question today. So this is something we have kept ready. I would say we have to cook something today for the party. The ingredients are ready. Now let's start cooking. So let's start preparing the meal for ourselves. All countries are taken to be 40C. Now, LCM of 5, 8, and 10, I don't doubt on anyone's ability to calculate or to find the LCM. But how do I find the LCM? I take the larger number, which is 10. I start taking the table of 10. 10 times 1 is 10, not appearing in 8. 10 times 2 is 20, not appearing in 8. 10 times 3 is 30, not appearing in 8. 10 times 4 is 40, appearing in 8, works for me. That is the first number which appears in all the three of it, 5, 8, and 10. So my LCM is 40. So this is how I find it out. You could have much better approaches. I respect that too. Countries is the word that we are dealing with here. So we will have 40C. Now, C, when you make that 40C as your number, rather than taking a variable XP or something, now see how this question gets solved in next 10 seconds. You have 40C, 2 over 5 of all countries attended. 2 over 5 of 40C attended. That happens to be 16C. If 16C has attended out of 40, or let's say if 16 has attended out of 40, 40 minus 16, which happens to be 24, are not attended. Two quantities are ready. Attended 16, not attended 24. Let's go ahead. 5 out of 8, which is 5 or 8 of the countries that attended were in favor of a bill. We are just dealing with the countries who attended. That means we are just dealing with the number which is 16, out of which 5 over 8 of the countries are in the favor of a bill. So that says 5 over 8 of 16, that is 10C, are in the favor. So out of it, 16 who attended, if 10 are in favor, 6 are in against. We got more information. If 7 of the 10 of the countries did not attend, that means 3 of the 10 attended. So it says 7 of the 10 of the countries that did not attend, 7 over 10 of 24C. Number of countries did not attend meeting and against the bill would be 3 over 10 times 24C. Don't make a mistake in this. 7 over 10 of the countries that did not attend were in favor. So 3 over 10 of the countries who did not attend will be against. It's not 3 over 10 of the countries who attended. That information was already here before. 2/5 of all countries attended. So just don't make a mistake here. Once this is done, we are ready with all the information. Once we are ready with all the information, the next point we'll do is table forming. In favor of the bill, we attended were 10. We have 40C here written as which we took as a total. Did not attend was 16.8. We managed to solve this complete table. The only difference which we require it, what fraction of all countries were against the bill? Now see, understand, what fraction of all countries were against the bill? That means I have to take care of every country who were against the bill. Doesn't matter they attended or didn't. So I'll be taking against, which is 6 plus 7.2, which happens to be 13.2. So, these are 2 points wherein a particular student can make a mistake, or rather, I would say anyone can make a mistake. One was 7/10 of the countries that did not attend were in favor of bill. So 3/10 of the countries that did not attend were against the bill. And second is this. So just, and this is only can be catched, or if we are not rushing on the question. And when you will not rush on the question, when you know that this can be solved within the time, and when you can solve the question within the time, when you have the variable approach and a IV approach with you, right? So again, going back to the question, it says axiom 1, yes, what fraction of all the countries were against the bill? Theta times of 40c, because those were something we took as the whole countries as a number, were equals to, against the bill is 13.2. 13.2 over 40 happens to be 33 over 100. My job is done. Mark, the answer is A. Let's move to the next question. 100 and a percent. This is something which you have been dealing with, as I've already briefed you about the same. If you deal with the percentage, take a number 100, attach it to the letter, which happens to be initial letter. This is something which we have solved as 100p before, and now we'll be solving an absolute question on this. Tom is a person who travels between his home and his office on the same route every day. One day, after he goes from his home to his office, he travels only 20% of the route. On his return trip, don't leave the statement half. It says he travels only 20% of the route on his return trip. So in this particular question, what percent of his total trip did he take that day? Even if you want to go ahead and assume it to the x, you may solve it, but it may take time. So I would always say, it's a percentage question. We're learning the IV approach. Let's go with the initials of the journeys, routes, and let's go with the 100 property. So if we go with the 100 property here, percentage question, attach 100 to the related initial letter. It's 100 and a percent IV approach. We are dealing with the route, because the difference that it has made in this particular question is, one day after he goes from his home to his office, he travels only 20% of the route on the return. So if my complete journey was 100, he's just making a 20% of the half. So now let's see, let's not confuse ourselves. Let's go ahead. We assume our total route to be 100 R. R is a attached letter, 100, because we're dealing with percentage. So if we go with this, a particular diagram would help us understanding this. 100 R is my journey, or rather I would say it's a journey of a Tom from his home to office and office to home. So ultimately, the route is distributed as 50 and 50 R. Secondly, while returning, there is a change. So from home to office, there's no change, which is 50 R. Now, while he returns from office to home, he only covers, or he only travels 20% of his route. 20% of 50 would be 10 R. So ultimately, out of complete 100 R, first he starts from his home, goes to office, does 50 R traveling. While returning, he does 10 hour traveling more, which happens to be 60 hour distance covering. I have distance covered. I have total distance. Was it earlier? What percent of his total trip did he take that day? Theta times, because that's what percent is 1 over 100 of his total trip, which is 100 R, did he take equals to that day, which was 60 R. 100 cancels to 100, you get theta equals to 60. 60% of his total trip was something which he covered that day. I would agree to this fact also, that most of you would be thinking about these questions are pretty easy. Yes, they are easy, because I have just introduced this approach. I cannot definitely go with the hardest question maybe beyond even 700 level on the day one of my webinar when I have to introduce approach. Now, right now, when you know this approach, we will go ahead with more difficult questions because now understand the variable approach and the IV approach is the major crux of all that we would be solving through, not only in such sort of things, right? But another topics like absolute values, inequalities, speed, distance, time, geometry. PS and DS are the parts of all this particular topic. Integers, reminders, unit values. There are a lot. There are a lot. So concern is if we understand this approach, we will be able to apply those into all those coming topics in the webinars. So the difficulty, I didn't pay much see, I won't say I didn't pay much attention to the level of difficulty of a question today. They are standard question. And let me tell you, these are the question which I have took, after experiencing a fact where students have really goofed up marking the answers for it. And that is something I'd always give you a hint in the very first question when I took 80 as a whole rather than 100. So in this scenario, I'll be taking this webinars to a level wherein we would be definitely dealing the hardest level question also a day by the help of IV and variable approach. But as it's an introductory session, this was a real introduction for this approach, right? So you can keep checking and attending the webinars for the hardest level questions. And if you want more hardest level questions, you are very welcome onto our website, which is, www.mathrevolution.com. You'll get almost 3,000 plus questions there, segregated along with topic, question types, difficulty levels, and solutions. So you would have those. You can just have a glance of all the courses that so these are the courses that we were talking about, that we have got 130 plus members across the globe who are, actually divided into such courses. So we have a solution. So solution pack is always there. That's a variable approach for DS and IV. So you have a trial pack. So, it's not about enforcing this particular approaches to someone that you need to learn this now. But this is why, trial pack, we often don't see refunds, to be honest, because we have it's not about just designing and coming up with these approaches. We have made solutions of many questions, I would say, on the basis of same, thus saving a time and making an accuracy. So we do again give a 7 days trial period so that you could have gone through your diagnostic test. You can definitely go through, and you can go through various topics and subtopics for the GMAT. If you are at the level of 44, 48, you can definitely take a shortcut 1 month program that will have that is a very unique program, let me tell you, for $69. One of the most affordable program that is being liked by most of the students, because it gives you a shortcut, it gives a quick approaches, saving time. And the best part is, like, it's just $69. I mean, like, it's very, very simply affordable, and it does guarantee the score. I mean, like, it does give high pointers from your current scorecards. If you want to go for all in one, which is like 3 months, definitely, if you want to learn the math basics, you can have all this for yourself. And if you want to have a personal tutoring, definitely you can definitely go for this is all there on our website. There's one thing that is missing here, which most of the students are doing these days, is a consultation. So you can definitely have a consultation, because that is more customized, and you could always have such your own questions to talk about. And definitely I'll put in all my experience to answer your questions, and can guide you on various different things related to quant, some insights about GMAT verbal as well. And yes, that is that. So, this is how the journey goes. And yeah, that is it. I would say thank you very much today for joining this webinar. And just the next webinar would be on DS. So right now, what I've decided is to go as a one webinar DS and a PS, and then DS and a PS, and slowly and gradually we never knows when I'll be hitting 700 plus or 750 plus level questions, but my approach will be same, that is IV and variable. So you need to cope up with those, and this is why I want that, before the next webinar that we hit, if you can just grab that knowledge of variable approach. So visit the website, look yourself what is that variable approach this guy is all talking about, so that in the next webinar you will be able to reconnect it very well, and it will be fun, right? So thank you so much today. On the behalf of Math Revolution team, I wish you a happy weekend. Stay blessed, stay safe. Thank you so much and have a nice day ahead. If you have any more questions right now, you can just put through. If no, then I'll just go off for this. But I was thinking about one of the question which no one have asked right now. What is the full form of Ivy approach? So Ivy League colleges, if you have heard about, which for SAT they need 1530 plus. Those leagues are so those are the leagues there in where if you want to get into, you need to have the highest score. To have a higher score, you always need some approaches. That is why we have named it as a IB approach, right? So this is one thing. All right, so I'll just end off the session now. Be blessed, be safe. Thank you so much. Bye bye, and have a nice day.